G'day, punters. Welcome to the Sydney Preview Show. We've got a pretty decent meeting coming from Rosehill this Saturday. The Golden Eagle, possibly one of the worst named races in the history of racing headlines, but it's actually a really, really good race, and I had a great deal of fun actually previewing and diving into the form there. Mark Shean, I'll throw to you first of all. Very wet already. More rain expected on Saturday. How are you expecting the track to hold up?
Look, the last couple of days have been all right, actually. I think we got a little bit of rain this morning, but it's been a very good day apart from that. So it would have dried out a little bit. I think it was given out as a heavy 8 this morning. Probably would have improved to a slow, but I think there's plenty of rain forecast on Saturday. So the track may open up. So we're just in the lap of the gods, really. So, but a couple of nice drying days the last couple of days anyway.
Okay, that's some promise there. There's some promise. Mark Rhoden, if the rain does eventuate during the card, are you expecting a pattern to emerge?
Look, it's hard to say. I would have said once upon a time that, definitely off fence and down the middle when it gets wet at Rosehill on the Troop. But the last couple of meetings, when we've had one wet, one dry, you might recall the Missile Stakes meeting in early August, heavy track, true rail, and quite up the inside. So I'm not going to declare anything before I see a race or two if it does get very wet.
I think that's fair enough. We're going to preview the Quaddy Leagues races 6, 7, 8 and 9. We'll start with race 6 on the card, which is over the 2,000 metres. And, I mean, by then we should have some idea of what's happening before the Rosehill Gold Cup here. But in terms of the market at the moment, we've got Purple Sector, who's the favourite, at around the $3.50 mark. Mark Rhoden, we spoke about Purple Sector in the review show of late after its most recent run. Is it a case of if it handles the heavier track, it just should be too good on what we saw last start?
Well, that's the thing. I would declare it a good thing on a good track for sure. I don't know how wet he wants it. He's been gelded though, I think, so maybe he's a different horse, but I think he's had 11 runs on soft and heavy for one placing, so hard for me to come into him as favourite, even though I'm a big fan of the horse and how he's going. If it's a 9 or 10 for sure, I'd have to say no.
Mark Shean, do you have an opinion there on the favourite there in race 6?
Oh, I'm very much the same. I think he's come back a much better horse since he's been gelded, but his wet form in the past has been very patchy, to say the least. I think he ran a decent race one day at Warwick Farm on a wet track, but apart from that, he's put in a couple of stinkers on heavy. So I don't know that I could entertain him at around that quote at the moment if the track does get to an 8 or a 9.
Okay, so we've got small little claims or queries around the favourite there. Mark Shean, are you siding with anyone there in the Gold Cup?
Yeah. I don't mind Nima Lee here. I thought she was a good run in the mares race where she was trapped wide. She got a bit of a bump at the start and got into a bad position. She's come up with barrier number 2 here. I really think she's been crying out for this distance. She's got very good wet form, and I think she'll get a good run throughout the race. And I think she's good value around the $9 or $10 mark. So I think her and House of Cartier both come out of the same race. House of Cartier won the Wagga Cup on a bog track but was disqualified. And she's got a couple of other good runs on the wet where she got a long way back and ran on. It just depends where they get to with her in the run. She can fire up, and when she's been ridden forward, she has failed. So they need to definitely find a smother, in my opinion. So I'd go 10 from 9 at the moment, banking on the track being around an 8 or a 9.
Sure. Mark Rhoden, do you have a thought in race 6?
I'm pretty similar. I just lean at the Cartier. I've mentioned on a couple of review shows that I've really been impressed with the way she's going this time in, and I've just been waiting for her to get to a suitable race. The 2000 and wet track seems to fit the bill. I think you have to say Nima Lee's run was better actually in the Anx Stakes when they clashed last time, but I do think House of Cartier is looking for the 2000. I've got them pretty close together, but just with House of Cartier being the bigger price, she's the way I'm leaning. So if we're going to be opposing Purple Sector, that'd be the way I'd go. I think She's Ideal's got a chance as well, although I suspect she might even get back to last here, so that's going to make her task a little bit harder. There's a few, can have some fun with some of those up the top. Fun fact, off a career peak on the dry, coming to heavy. I mean, the market's completely put the pen through him. Mm-hmm. We've got definitely looking for the wet, but going terribly, so weigh that up and see if you think $6 is reasonable. And the Candyman wants the wet, but he's in the same boat. He might be completely cast as well. So Putting all that together, House of Cartier at the price for me probably saved Nimley. I think $9 is pretty reasonable for her as well.
Yep, I'm with House of Cartier as well for something here. I mean, yeah, well, we spoke about her in the review show. Can't really ignore it here. I don't think it's going to be too much pace. I thought the map was going to be okay for it, and they've been riding a little bit more aggressive of late. So I think that just all pans out to be a decent enough stab at the price available, $15. More than happy with that. Race 7, the yes, the I'll have what she's having stakes, 1,300, and G-Tra, $3.10, leads the market. Hawkbury on her, Eduardo, they're the other two out of the Everest, and they're all in the top 3 of the market here. Mark Shean, I'll give you the first stab at the yes. Do you have a thought here?
Yeah, well, we saw this race last year as the Red Zell, and the 2 horses that came out of the Everest Quinellaed the race. So I'm thinking a bit along the same lines. Look, I'm giving Hawkbury on her the tick here just because she's a good wet tracker. Did a lot of chasing in that race. Eduardo, of course, running that breakneck speed up front, which I doubt that he will again on Saturday, with Nash going on from barrier number 1. But I thought Hawkbury on her might lob in a spot just behind the speed here. G-Tra, I'm a little bit worried about 1,300 wide barrier, going to get back. So I'm going to bet around him, actually. So I'm going to give Eduardo another tick. I'm not sure about 1,300. I know he won at that trip as a younger horse, but in this company might be a little bit different. But I think you get a good smother from that barrier, or be right on the speed and trying to control it a little bit. So 12 from 3 from me.
Mark Rhoden, are you able to separate a few of these runners in the yes?
I approached it in a very similar way to Mark. I thought the Everest was the form line, and I thought Hawkbury on her was the one to be with at the price. I've virtually got them equal, actually. G-Tra obviously finished in front of Hawkbury on her, but she chased that murderous speed. G-Tra virtually took no part in the race until they turned for home, and then was able to work home and get over Hawkbury on her. And I'm exactly the same. I don't know about 1,300, and I don't know about Hetty for him in this grade. So I'm not 100% sure about Hawkbury on her on the wet either, but I just think if she handles it, $6 is probably a huge price. So I'm going to take the punt. Got G-Tra a big chance just on class alone, but too short for me to back at around 2-1. The one I might save on, I think, is Deprive, who ran second in this to Pirata last year. Probably the best run of his career to that point. And with likely more speed than he copped last time, he could, if they're getting home. And look, drawn inside won't be a problem, I don't think. So with good speed and a good run through, he can run a race as well at around $15. So I would be backing 12, saving 8.
Yep. All right. That seems to be the pattern for this race. In the end, I actually didn't have an opinion, to be honest. I wanted to see how the track was unfolding on the day. Could make a case for those up front, and there's a few back markets I'd be keen on entertaining once more. Deprived was one of those. What do we make of Star of the Seas lobbing in this race over the 1,300, dropping back from the 2,000?
Well, if it was trained by anyone else, I'd have him in the thousands, but he loves the wet, and it's a funny jockey booking too. It's got afterthought written all over it.
Yep.
He was nominated for the 2,000 metre cup race as well, I think, when I first saw the nom. So, look, he's only a lightly framed horse and probably be able to freshen him up, but it certainly would be a training performance to get him to come back from 2,000. The other one who might run a race here is Imaging, who did run a couple of good races on wet ground before he struck 2 dry tracks at his last 2. He was very unlucky in the Weight for Age race behind Very Elegant, Star of the Seas, and then he struck those 2 dry tracks. So, he hasn't drawn all that well, but if you're looking for a swooper late, if they are coming from the back, he might be one to throw in as well.
It's another one I'd like to see a different jockey on, other than Kathy Zero O'Hara. No wins for about 6 weeks for Kathy in town, unfortunately. But the jockey ranks are a bit thin this week, obviously, with the Melbourne Carnival on, so we just have to do our best, I suppose.
Yep. Okay, well, let's have a look at the Golden Eagle. It's the feature race. Can't remember how many dollars it's worth, but it's a lot. 1,500 metres, and the current market elect is Funstar, around the $5 mark. And Alligator Blood Colette has had quite a bit of support throughout the week. Mark Shean, in terms of finding one of the form lines for this race, did you find one that appealed more than any of the others?
No, look, I've got it down to about 6 chances here, so I'm not sure whether I'm going to take the split or the evens or the odds. So that's the big question. Look, I've come back to Flit here. I must admit that when I first started doing the race, I didn't think I would find Flit, but she does have good wet form. She ran well in the lead up, and she does like her races a little bit spaced. So she's had a couple of weeks between runs there. Look, I thought Ice Bath has got a good chance as well. Mark was on him. Well, I hope he's on at the 26th. He's come in quite a bit since then. And I thought Subpoenaed could run an improved race as well. I'm going to spec a couple of roughies, Subpoenaed and Ice Bath, and Flit on top for me, but very tricky race.
Mm-hmm. Mark Rhoden, I'll throw back to you.
Yeah,
in terms of that first, just a comment, because I was really struggling to get any sort of clarity with how the race might unfold outside of the fact that there looks to be a really strong speed.
Yeah, assuming emergencies don't run, of course. Riadini, just thinking Alligator Blood, I thought had to go forward from his gate. Then I had Funstar. They went forward in the Epsom. I think that's from a bad gate as well. I think that's the way to attack it. Batiga somewhere up there, but not punching on for the lead like last time. It's a big field. You'd expect the pace to be strong, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll be breakneck, but we'll see.
Okay. What are you thinking of a horse like Sierra Sue coming up from Victoria? I mean, there was some decent splits and so forth. Gets gate one, and all of a sudden Nash is jumping on board, and it's sitting at $10 in the market.
Yeah, I didn't think she was quite good enough. I thought there was stronger form lines than that. I thought the Epsom was the strongest. I've actually got. I haven't found Sierra Sue. I've got Colette, even though she comes through the Epsom. I've got her longer as well. I don't think dropping back to 1500 is what she wants at all at this stage of her prep. I'm left with Funstar on top. I'm about the market price, so it's not I'm not desperate to get involved. But I do think, running second, Epsom is the strongest lead up into this race. Ice Bath, I think she's into her right price now. But, I mean, ticks some boxes there. The quick back up on the wet. And I assume, if it does get to 9 or 10 again, that's going to be obviously right up her street. And, will be very fit. Messy. What did I second after Funstar? Where did I go after it? Ice Bath, Alligator Blood. Look, I mean, you'll have heard me say I've been waiting for Alligator Blood in this race, and I was going to talk myself out of him on the Thursday, and I think I have because of the wet. I just can't find any reason to back him on a heavy track. So I'll probably leave him. I thought a couple of ones that will go well on wet, I think, are Riadini, also through the Epsom, and Brandenburg through the Epsom as well, who's massive odds. Ran third in the Doncaster on a heavy track back in the autumn. So hope you can make sense of all of that. But basically, Funstar on top for me. But don't think it'll be a big betting race for me because it is very, very hard.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to describe it. I'm going to have something small on Windstorm at 26 plus. The horse has proven itself in the wet before. Glenn Schofield's a very, very confusing jockey booking, and I've got no idea what he's planning from gate 8. The horse has shown some level of tactical speed previously, but if it ends up last and cast on the fence, I'll be tearing my ticket up pretty much instantly. But at least I'll know my fate early. I just think the price is too big given the horse, its general capabilities in the wet and what it's been able to produce off varying tempos as well, both fast and slow. So that was the only real angle I had in the race. Outside of that, more than happy to just sit back and watch someone make a whole heap of cash. Race 9, to finish off the card, 1,400 metres, and it's just a benchmark 78. In terms of the market, it's coming up as we speak, followed by the speed map. Mark Shean, the get-out stakes, so to speak. Did you have an angle of attack in race 9?
A lot will depend on track bias at this stage of the day. Look, I thought Surreal Step could make an improvement from its last run, drawn quite well. Got very good wet form, and from barrier number 1 can be right on the speed here. Fender will probably try and go across and try and hit it, but I think at worst, Surreal Step will be second or third. I think it comes out of a very strong race and dropping right back in grades. The Cat's another one who's been racing really well. lot of weight, and a bad barrier, so we'll need a bit of luck. But it's another one who's coming out of a much stronger form race. So they're the two that I've nailed it down to, and Almahara in for third. I might spec it as well. So with 13-1-4 in the last.
Okay, Mark Rhoden, give us something to go home with.
I'm with Surreal Step as well. Yep, once the wet, this is a massive class drop from racing Flit, and it basically crossed the line and supplanted the other day. That's not likely to be in this field. I wanted to find Dancing Gidget on the wet, but got your man G Schofield, who you just spoke at length about on it as well, on barrier 18 or something. So
yep.
Don't know where that leaves her. The one I actually hope they scratch this horse, Julian Rock. It's huge odds. I think it was unsuited first up at Canterbury, or last start at Canterbury, not first up. And it likes the wet, and it's got a couple of really big figures there. I just find the Jean Dubois stable absolutely unreadable. I don't think there's a jockey declared, so just hopefully they scratch it and save me the hassle. But I've got it pretty open, but it's a real step on top for me.
It has been scratched. You can
well, that is very very pleased to hear that.
I found Mirror Vision on top from Surreal Step, so I'm more than happy to play both of those. I think they're both going to be in the right spot, unless the inside really turns into a quicksand zone towards the end of the card. But I'm pretty happy to be with both of those gallopers. I think there's a few tricky maps for some of the horses that are in the market here as well. All right, we'll throw to a couple of best bets, value bets, any lay bets. Mark Shean, for yourself on Saturday.
Yeah, well, I thought Nimalee was pretty good value in race number 6. It looks an extremely hard day to my eye. I thought Archana would run a race in race number 4, but again, betting in races over a mile, I give myself an uppercut. And that's about it. And probably bet around Guitar or lay it. So hopefully it gets LOST.
Okay,
I like it. Mark Rhoden, for yourself.
We've matched up a few times. Archana was the one I've put a bit of a circle around. But the debut win last prep was on soft ground. It's the only time she's been on a really soft track, and she looked like winks. So I'm thinking and hoping that's what she's been waiting for. Gets Nash on, won't be a problem, and hopefully the soft or heavy track is enough to give her a bit of an edge on a pretty similar field to what she raced last time. But I'm pretty keen on her.
All right, beautiful. And I'll throw out Windstorm at the price as a value bet. But yeah, certainly no best bets at this stage at Rosehill. Thank you to you both. Enjoy Saturday. Hopefully some of the rain abates, but I'm not sure we'll be that lucky. But we'll talk about it on Monday. So until then, have a good weekend, guys.
See you, boys.
Thank you.